Stablecoins will not really work, at least from my point of view, just to start with, because from definition they are not stable. That's why they have to put the emphasis of the accent on stable. They have to work to make it stable. And I think it should not be able to compete against something that is already stable, and that is the one that is backed by the central bank apparatus that has been put there together. A lot of the discussion was started by the popularity that Bitcoin, crypto, and then stablecoin received. We were challenged. The central banks usually were not challenged with respect of our basic monopoly, which is the provision of money. Now, this is not the first time in history that private sector efforts tried to displace central banks. Eventually, we went through the same story. I think now, basically, in terms of money, legal tender has reestablished its role, and that's because it has come to fruition that there are at least three things that are important that central bank money has, and the money also supported by commercial banks. One is singularity, but the other, very associated with it, is finality of payments, where the finality of payments is guaranteed by the fact that wholesale payments, but also retail payments are settled in central bank money through the banking system. So also for retail, CBDC money is very important. And third, because I think that we should build on the trust that the central banks and money supported by the central banks and the commercial banking system has there today, and it has really taken many centuries, I would even say, to build this trust. We need to build on that, so that should be the core of whatever we think in terms of money and payments. Stable coins will not really work, at least from my point of view, just to start with, because from definition they are not stable. That's why they have to put the emphasis of the accent on stable. They have to work to make it stable. And I think it should not be able to compete against something that is already stable, and that is the one that is backed by the central bank apparatus that has been put there together. So for me, not only the development of payments, but also for the future of the financial system, we have, and I here fully concur with Andrew, we have to build on the two-tier banking system. I agree with Andrew. CBDC at the wholesale and retail level have a space, mostly in the wholesale level. I think it's very important now that we move into digitizing commercial bank money. That can be done through tokenization of deposits. I think that would make commercial bank much more efficient, not only in the payment space, but in many banking spaces. We already in the BIS, we have a project where Bank of England, we are working with the IIF. It's called Project Agora, which basically we're tokenizing central bank money, tokenizing commercial bank money, and the immediate application for this would be cross-border payments. But if we get it right from the point of view of the tokenization of commercial bank money and central bank money, we will have, I would say, a huge pillar for the development of the future of the financial system. Because digitization should not stop at the payment level. I mean, a lot of this discussion of digitization and applying technology has been spread by the idea of inclusion, by the idea of very high transaction costs in cross-border payments. But if we see inclusion, where even though the inclusion figures worldwide are very poor in the payments and the banking area, they are even poorer if you go down the complexity of financial transactions. So I think we can enhance the inclusion in financial activity in terms of sophistication, in terms of granting loans, of bringing saving instruments to broader parts of society, bringing asset markets to society, bringing insurance to society, if we manage to make them more efficient. We have been exploring a way of doing this through what we call the Finternet, and the Finternet builds a lot on tokenization. What tokenization is very important because through the tokens, you can build into the representation of an asset regulation, cybersecurity, and programmability. The settlement can be made very efficient. It can be atomic settlement that can save huge amounts of resources in terms of collateralization. In the short term, it might need a little bit more liquidity, but I think the savings overall can be compensated, and basically the technology is there. There are three areas where we need to work. One is on the technological area, and we have already unleashed a lot of research in that area. Then we need to work on the financial economic architecture on it, and for that, this two-tier banking system is essential. For me, the next step should be to tokenize government securities. For me, the trilogy in any modern financial system is central bank money, commercial bank money, and government securities. We need to really build that trilogy fully, and it's a low-hanging fruit. If we tokenize government security, even the access to government securities to the population will be far bigger. And then on top of that, we can start building on other financial assets and bring together a financial system that fully embraces technology.
So Bitcoin is trading at its highest point since March. It's up more than 5% in the last 24 hours, with Bitcoin's trading volume topping $31 billion and more than $224 million in short positions liquidated over that same window. Now, meanwhile, stocks tied to digital asset prices like Riot Platforms, Coinbase, and MicroStrategy are all rallying this morning, along with the wider crypto market, as Bitcoin breaks past that key 70K resistance level. Now, spot Bitcoin ETFs have also seen a surge of inflows, adding over $3.1 billion in just the last 2 weeks, bringing the total market cap of those funds to nearly $73 billion since they launched in January. I've been speaking with analysts, and they say that with 1 week to go until the general election here in the U.S., investors are increasingly bullish that no matter who wins, it will be a net benefit for the industry. And already, guys, we are seeing options traders increase bets that regardless of who takes the White House, Bitcoin is poised to hit that 80K mark this year.
Makes sense because it's clear that the Republican agenda is an agenda that's going to favor the adoption of this incredibly promising technology. And not just promising, proven, Larry. We see it every day in stablecoin around the globe. This is not pie in the sky. This is something that is working and should be brought to our markets. This can make our markets, particularly our markets that are at the, what I would say, the cash end of the spectrum, work incredibly well. Think about what stablecoin is doing around the globe. It used to take days and lots of money to send US dollars around the globe. You can do it instantaneously for nothing. The same thing is going to happen to our funding markets, Larry. It's going to happen to the Treasury market. It's going to happen to the commercial paper market.
So as a former SEC chair, you think it's safe and sound?
I think the technology can do the regulatory job better. We just, as regulators, need to work with the industry to make that happen. So not only is it going to be more efficient, it's going to do the regulatory job better.
And you can weed out the crooks, because obviously there have been some horrible stories. I don't have enough time to go through it.
We should weed out the crooks.
You'd do that anyway.
Markets work better when you weed out the crooks.
And you'd stop the Fed and the Treasury from running everything. I mean, I don't want the central bank digital currency. I'm a Hayekian, if anyone knows what that is, Friedrich Hayek, Nobel Prize winner. Let's have some competition among currencies. Free markets, as you say.
And when I say stablecoin, I don't mean a government digital currency. I mean a bank or another creating a digital currency with competition.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And you know I come back with that video just to make you think. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And make sure you're joining the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. And also, guys, make sure you go like and follow the TikTok. More videos to come. And we have the BIS says stable coins are not stable. Yes, guys, you heard that correct. The central banks are the most stable currency. And we already know how this movie ends. And the central bank says that they were challenged from Bitcoin and crypto. Guys, is that correct? No, it is not. The central banks were 100% behind Bitcoin and crypto from the beginning. The only thing you have to do is follow the money. And like I wrote in my book, Bitcoin and crypto was the only central bank savior. We know all fiat dies. And we have the BIS also wants everything tokenized, all the banking instruments. And we see that happening now. And then also the whole tokenization of the economy. I brought you the Ray Kurzweil videos. They want your life to be a video game. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And we have the Fed pumping Bitcoin and crypto for this election. But we know once this new administration gets in, it's the beginning of reality. The movies get stepped up. And we have Jay Clayton flipping the script. Yes, guys, you heard that correct. Crypto is promising technology and then also proven. And we have him in those FDIC videos. He knows all about the banking collapses that are going to happen. These small and medium-sized banks either have to be consolidated or closed up. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And then we have Jim Cramer on the bond market. Yes, yield rates are rising. Remember, everybody said yield rates were going to drop. Who gave you the truth? That's right, the crypto teacher. You know I give you the truth, nothing but the truth. Yes, the truth hurts, but it sets you free. And I told you once Jerome Powell was out the picture, these yield rates will rise. And they're going to pull back a little for the next two meetings that we have. And then it's off to the races because inflation is not going anywhere. And the Fed is going to have to pause until we see the labor market completely collapse. And we know we're going to get there. These small banks are going to collapse. The small businesses are going to collapse, which are the backbone of America. And then, of course, we have mass layoffs. And we know the NWO causes the problem. Wait for the reaction and run in with the solution. The robots, algorithms, and drones take the economy over, pay each other with crypto, and the sheep go inside the metaverse. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Age where people believed in gold in the 70s and 80s. And it is the gold for people 40 and under, and also Bill Miller and me. I mean, I do think it's a hedge against inflation. I do think there's limited supply. That's the whole gimmick. So don't scoff at it.
The reason why the industry raised $278 million, more than 18x what it raised in the 2020 election cycle, is because they're trying to put cash behind House and Senate candidates who are ultimately going to comprise the Congress that's going to pass some of these crypto bills into law. For years now, we've had different bills that have come to the floor. Nothing has been passed. And I can tell you that the first two line items on the congressional agenda are trying to repeal SAB 121, which is this niche accounting bulletin that's standing in the way of banks being able to custody cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, and then passing FIT 21. Now, this is a market legislation bill that essentially would lay out jurisdictional authority between existing regulators like the SEC and the CFTC, and institutions say, hey, this is what we need to feel comfortable jumping into the ecosystem. Yeah, and I think that the two big questions for Coinbase. One, the existential threat of these spot Bitcoin ETFs, because yes, they are a custody partner for these issuers, but ultimately it's taking some of their business. You would otherwise store it on an exchange. The second question for Coinbase is they are in the midst of this, protracted litigation with the SEC. I spoke to Paul Gural, their chief legal officer, about an hour ago about the outcome of the election, and he's optimistic either way. He did show up at a Donald Trump fundraiser in June, held at David Sachs' home. But at the end of the day, I think that the question is, will there be turnover at the top of the SEC, regardless of who's in the White House? And what does that mean for existing litigation against Ripple, against Coinbase, against Robinhood? Donald Trump has promised to unseat Chair Gensler if he wins. Kamala Harris has not come out and said that, but typically we do see a change in leadership when there's a turnover in the administration.
Yeah. Chris, are your clients asking for crypto?
Yes, they're asking about it, and any asset that goes up as much as crypto, they're curious. Do you think that Trump or Harris will be better from a regulatory standpoint for crypto?
I think that with respect to the big institutions, they would like to see Donald Trump because they know what they're going to get at the SEC. And then with respect to the crypto investor, I think that regardless of who wins, they're very optimistic that we're going to see the kinds of bills passed that are going to open up the doors to institutional money. And that's really what the ecosystem needs to scale. They need a lot of Wall Street cash onboarded into crypto. Yeah.
Bond market is really screwing things up here. Bonds are wrecking the narrative, driving the people out of everything that works when the Fed cuts rates. And they're going right back into tech. That's the opposite of what, if you're a true bull, you want to see. So even though the Dow only dipped 155 points, this would be advanced 0.16%. But of course, the NASDAQ jumping to a record close, gaining 0.78%. The market's getting narrow again. It's getting uninclusive, meaning it's not healthy. Because the winners are more narrow and concentrated, mainly in tech and not much else. See, if the bond market doesn't start behaving, or at least calming down, if longer-term interest rates don't stop going up, we're going to start losing the groups that have let us higher for months now and go back to our bad old ways with just a couple of magnificent ones. In some ways, you know what, this was predictable. When we got wind that the Fed was going to bless us with that 50 basis point double rate cut, people went nuts. They're trying to buy bonds. They were betting that they would have a rapid, remember, we're going to have a rapid series of rate cuts this month, when the Fed would push down bond yields. It seemed a totally legit thing, right? I mean, the economy was slowing. That's been the pattern historically. Inflation was receding, so history was supposed to be repeating itself. But then after that darn double cut on September 18th, we saw something that hasn't happened since 1995. We saw long rates go higher, not lower. It was a total buzzkill, and we're beginning to feel it with earnings now. Today, D.R. Horton, they make affordable homes. It absolutely imploded. Top reported a very big shortfall, even though Horton's a great operator, largely because mortgage rates are a lot higher than
going to a different economy. And we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is, it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of a huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. We will, and if we can have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting it more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets. Now,
it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy, and you know, when the dealers have to step in to save a Treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence. And
Cryptoteacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get on stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing, they were still getting that free money. What are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know, I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.